Well, my name is Mike Storey, and I'm a computer scientist and a photographer. And at the intersection of those two interests lies one of my real passions, which is gigapixel panoramic photography. So what is a gigapixel, and how would I capture a picture that size? So a Webster's definition here is going to be that a gigapixel is 1,000 megapixels. To put that a little bit differently, that's 1 billion points. So your phone probably is 10 or 12 megapixels, that's 10 or 12 million points of light. So how do I create these, and why? I certainly can't show you a 1 billion pixel image on this display, or any other that I've found. Let's start with the how. Maybe we'll get to the why along the way. So the first part of capturing these images is finding the venue. You've got to find that and get access to shoot, which can be really challenging. And these are the beautiful Andes Mountains, just right where they enter the Pacific Ocean in Chile. I was in Santiago on business for about a couple of weeks, so I had a weekend as a tourist that I could get away, try to find that venue, try to secure that access, and then shoot a picture. And on the weekend, after a subway ride and a bus trip, I found myself in Vina del Mar, right next to the old town of Valparaiso, and I rented a cabbie and a translator for the day. When we first started, they really didn't understand what I was doing, but when they saw me set up my equipment for the first time and recognized how I was taking panoramic pictures with a robot and a camera mounted on it, that's when it kind of clicked for them. And we really spent the rest of that morning driving around to scenic overlooks all throughout Vina del Mar. And so Vina del Mar is from the line of palm trees all the way around out the other side of the bay. After lunch at the beach, they took me to a museum in the old city that had this amazing view. But we had found the venue but couldn't gain access. They wouldn't let me on the roof, they wouldn't let us hang out of the windows. They really weren't very happy about us trying to set up a tripod even. And so we were being denied constantly. And while we were doing that in the museum, Igor, the cabbie, ran around the corner and somehow secured access to the roof of an adjacent building. And so we went around to this building. It was kind of a bit of a rush. He said we had to be there pretty quickly. And we get around to the building, and it's an old theater building. And it had been rented out for a child's party. So we kind of snuck down the alley behind all of the kids and behind the bouncy castles, and we got up to the front and pulled the shades back and walked backstage where we had to pull our phones out to turn the flashlights on. We walked up 3 flights of old rickety steel stairwell and pushed a piece of plywood out of a window and stepped through that window out onto the roof. And I got speaking too fast. I got excited. Now we can take a breath, right? And this is what we saw when we stepped out there. We were on the roof for about 2 hours. The picture took just under an hour to shoot. It was shot from right to left. It's a composite of 1,419 individual photos, and the final resolution is about 2.9 gigapixels. These are the individual pictures that were stitched together to make the image. You can see 3 different layers of different exposures, and the robot makes it into nice, neat, orderly rows and columns. I remember after I shot this, I was riding on the bus home and looking at the pictures on the camera, and I just kept getting more and more excited about what it was going to look like. It would be a couple of weeks before I actually got to see it. So for my geeks in the audience, this is a screenshot of the computer program that's stitching all of those images together into one picture. It's about 4 hours in, it's used 80 computer hours, and it's running 24 CPUs at 100% load. This is what comes out of that, is 3 perfectly aligned layers of a single image. And then I'll take these into Photoshop where I'll blend them together and use the right exposure for the right lighting. Some artists use computational HDR. I find the manual process to be a little more helpful. Here you see a 4 gigapixel image This was shot bracketed by 7. The lighting on a Carolina stream can be a little bit more varied than it is on a rooftop. This is a composite of 1,568 images, and it composes a full 360-degree view. Now that you understand that the picture is taken over time, probably will be a little bit less surprised if you see the same model in the picture more than once. I shot this picture, I was standing in the stream for about 2 hours, and this was October, so my feet got a little cold. And we've talked a lot about the how, so why? One of the things that I've really started to do when I look at the panoramics that makes it all worthwhile for me is as I look around in the picture and I'm panning across, or I'm zooming in or zooming out, sometimes it's almost become a game, trying to find something just startling in the picture. Maybe find something that I didn't really know I was shooting. Maybe if you look real close sometimes, you might find something extra special. Maybe even a Monet. Thank you.